We've got a red dot. we I'm going to be talking in my Jim Nance voice today. We've got a red dot, and we are live in kind of the North Canton area at Willow Grace Mystik at an undisclosed location. And we're going to be dealing today with some interesting things that I am completely ignorant to, which is topics that we like to cover. And right now, we're going to meet our host. Let me turn the microphones up. And we are with Patty and Kate today. So welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 3 Throw to Go. I'm your host, Hank Forrester, once again coming to you live from North Canton, Ohio. So right now, let's have a big round of applause for Patty.
Thank you. This round.
All right, so hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Glad you made it over.
Thank you for inviting us over. So first of all, I always start with, what's your Akron story? Tell us about you growing up here. Did you end up here? How did that all happen?
I grew up in Barberton.
Okay.
Love Barberton. My parents are still there. My brother's in Norton, and met my husband. He's from Doylestown, and we wanted to stay in the area. We lived in Kenmore for a few years, had our first kid, and decided we need a little bit of property. So we moved out here, and I decided I didn't want the kids to be moved from school to school, so we have stayed in Jackson Township for 25 years, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so here we are at Willow Grace Mystik, and explain to us, what is that? How did you get involved in this?
I teach math.
Okay.
I don't know how much I want to talk about that, but I teach math for 31 years, and I love numbers. And astrology is all numbers. It is, and then astrology leads to tarot. I'm also into Reiki. Reiki is energy healing. So I do tarot, astrology. I do psychic fairs, host those. I do tarot on tap at local wineries. I love astrology.
Okay.
So astrology is based on the sun and the moon and all the planets and where they line up. And there's a mathematical equation for everything. So if you take your exact time and date and location of birth or an event, like yesterday was the full moon, tomorrow we have this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, you can say, okay, I need to look in my chart or look in somebody else's chart to say, where does this fall? So there's certain kind of charts that you can do. You can do a natal birth chart, which we're going to talk about with you. You can do what they call a solar return. Solar return is solar sun return. So like on your birthday, you look at all the planets and what's going to be the theme of your life lessons for that year. Like everything shifts for a year's life lessons. There are transits. Transits are what's going on. Like the moon changes every 2.5 days. Some planets are months and others are years. So you can look at your chart and find out where all the planets are, and that's called a transit of what is the energy and how is it affecting you for that day. And then I do couples, not just like husband-wife couples, but like partnership couples or my children. If I go down to visit my daughter in Florida, I always pull up her chart and my chart and look at those and say, okay, this is where we're going to have ease and grace, and this is where we might have some difficulty, and I should be cautious so I don't upset the apple cart because I want it to be a great visit.
So you mentioned the moon and also all the other planets and conjunctions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This week in Akron was absolutely crazy. Okay.
Yep.
Did you expect that?
I felt so bad for you when you were reading your post because yesterday was a full moon. So this was not a typical full moon. Full moons bring about energy that's the day before, the day of, and the day after. And the energy is usually, it's every 6 months and it's in a sign. So this sign was in Cancer. So you think about the crab, crusty on the outside, warm and gushy on the inside, keep your family close. And full moons are usually about closure. But this one had an eclipse with it. So this was wonky energy. This was magnified, all of the full moon craziness that normally goes on out there, magnified. And I decided to lay low. We went to the winery, we came home and said, I'm not going to be part of the craziness that's out there, because this week in astrology is actually setting up for the year. This is going to be like, this would be the week that's going to set up everything for the year. We have this full moon, which is the first full moon of the year, and then we have a Saturn and conjunction with Pluto that's going to happen on Sunday. So if everybody was to look in their chart, each planet has specific energy and things attached, meanings attached to it. So Saturn is the planet. I always think of it as the rings around it. So think about your fence around your yard. Rules, the karmic teacher, it's follow the directions. And then Pluto is regenerative, meaning birth, death, rebirth. And so this is a time that whatever you've been doing, the rules that you've been following, things that you've been doing, if it's stagnant, Pluto's going to come in and clean it out, and then there will be new growth coming. And so this transit is hitting everybody. I don't know exactly in everybody's, like I'd have to look at the rising sign, but you look at somebody's chart and say, okay, like I know in your chart, it's going to hit with your shared income. It's going to hit in your 8th house. So whatever you've been doing before, if something is not stagnant, or if something is not working, if it's stagnant, there's going to be a shakeup of it. And you will have to come up with something new, creative, think outside the box, because this is going to be going on for the next 10 years. So we're talking about a complete shift in a generational shift. This only happens, I think, every 33 to 38 years. So people usually only see it once in their lifetime that it hits them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now here we are today to focus on good old Kate.
Hmm.
Yay.
Yay, Kate.
So at this point, I'll be quiet and you take it from here and kind of explain to us what's going to happen, and then go ahead and make it happen.
Okay, great. I want to explain it as I want to be able to teach it so she will understand a little bit of it. So I don't know if you want to get a quick glimpse. I made a chart. Actually, I did not. I drew it by pencil and had my husband make it. So I cannot claim credit for it, but I want to be able to show what I'm talking about. Astrology is made up of 3 things: the astrology sign, the planet, and then the house. So you will say, oh, I'm a Sagittarius. People will say, I'm a Sagittarius. Okay, that's your sun sign, and that's only one piece of you. That's where you shine. Well, then we have to say, in what house do you shine in? Does that make sense? So I'll keep this in front of us so we can look back at it. So with your chart, this is what a wheel looks like. This is Kate's wheel. All of the red, if you believe that you picked your time and location of birth, you chose this time and location because you wanted specific energies from the planets to affect you, then you believe that the red, these squares, these would be your life lessons that you would be working on. These are trines. The blue are gifts. If you are pre-planning and saying, for this lifetime, I want to learn these life lessons. I'm going to give myself these gifts, and I'm going to give myself these difficulties. So do you see all the red? The red would, I know. The red would mean difficulties, and then the blues would be gifts. And so then each of the planets has 4 elements: the fire, earth, air, and water. So do you see how you're fire? Do you see how you're big in air? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in Kate's air, the elements of it, Kate's all in her head all the time. Think. Kate couldn't get out of her head if she wanted to. She thinks about, she plans, she pre-plans, she plans after the plan. She tries to always stay organized with the planning of this. Then water. water is our spirit, our emotion, our love. That's your second highest. So that's where you are extremely high in I think, and I love, love, love. And I think about the people that I love. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're extremely low in is fire, not that fired up energy, not that, and not very grounded. You would go with whoever else. Oh, you want to go there? Okay, I'll go there. Oh, you want to do this? Okay, I'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be your fired up idea. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So that's what the elements mean. Then remember, they're still color coded. So then we talk about the modes. They come in 3 different modes of cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So I'll show everybody yours again. Cardinal means starter. Like, so I always think of the cardinal bird, so starting up. So pretty high. Fixed means slow and steady wins the race. Mutable, finish. So you are definitely a finisher. If somebody wants a job done, they need to come to you because you're going to finish the job. Whenever I'm working on charts with people, I always say, don't look at negatives and positives. If you see an area that you might consider a weakness, that would be something that you would say, okay, so I'm going to use you to help me with my weakness, but this is where I'm strong at. So people, your jobs or whatever, you're a finisher and you're a starter. Not so much for the long and steady. Like if the job's going to take a very long time, you're not in it to win it at all. You would rather get the job done. Let's finish this. I want to be done with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's not even looking at your chart. So then we glance at the chart and you have Gemini as your ascendant. So think of this wheel. So we're going to look at her wheel, and again, like the wheel, I don't know how much this is like showing up on there, if it even helps you, but with Kate's wheel, everything down here, think of this as the horizon.
Okay.
And this is where you took your first breath of air and you left your mother. Like,
Okay.
I'm being born. So people see you as a Gemini. They see you as, 2 different people. You can do two different types of Kate. Oh, she can be this or she can be this. Does that make sense? And
This is why my mic is off.
okay, so then the opposite side is, so then we go through each house. The first house is me. How do people see me? And then the second house is me with my money. And then the third, me with family, close to home, siblings. Then the fourth house, and remember so the fourth house is me with home, family, mother. And so like, I don't want to say mommy issues, but mommy things. So we can talk about things with you and your mother that are in the chart because of Virgo being in there. Does that make sense? So the planets that are in there tell me about you without even meeting you. So then this is about the next house is about romance and fun. And you got a lot of stuff going on there. This is about, I want a happy life. I want a happy family. I want happy career. I want to make everybody happy. And you have a lot going on in there. They call it a stellium because you have 4. I should show you other people's charts just so you can see the balance of different people's charts. Then this is about you with your daily work, and there's a little bit in there, but it's in Pluto. Then this tells me about what you look for in a significant other. So as a Sagittarius, so you want a man who is bigger than life and makes everything bigger, brighter, better. Makes things expansive. Does that make sense? Now, everything up here is the opposite of down here. So this is you, the first house is you.
Okay.
The 7th house is you with somebody else. So your relationship. So do you see it's your chart? So now we're talking about you with him.
Okay.
And then the 2nd house is your money. This is you with other people's money.
It's empty.
Well, it is, except for we'll talk about it before this transit that's coming up. That just means it's not a big focus for you in this life. You've not made it a big focus for right now in this life. You've made your main focus your family.
Okay.
Your life focus for now is it's your family. Like you've said, nope, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have these kids. I'm going to raise these kids. I'm going to be a mommy. I'm going to be the best darn mommy that's out there. Yeah. And so your focus is on raising the kids and everything to do with the kids. Like you're there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And money is not, it's not one of your top concerns. You with other people's money. Your money, oh yeah, your money is in Capricorn. You are definitely concerned about money, but that means Capricorn rules, regulations. What are we going to do with it? I don't want to say penny pincher, but you're definitely a penny counter. Like, let's spend the money on this. We have a limited amount. Remember, Capricorn is the rules and the regulations and following the order. And so you definitely follow a specific order with money. So this, the ninth house is travel. If this is primary education, and this would be faraway education and faraway travel, then this is your career. The moon and Saturn. So in Pisces. So moon always represents like our private side.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not wanting yourself to be out there, but you're going to be thrust on out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to balloon. It's going to get bigger. The 11th house, remember the opposite of, so this is with you with children. The 11th house is about you with friends. Now, the symbol that's in there is Chiron. That's called the wounded healer. We'll come back to that. It's not like a regular planet, but I threw it in here anyway. And then the 12th house is our greatest fears, and it's our karma, and it's our self-sabotage. You don't have a lot that's going on in that house either. Like your focus is in specific houses. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are all over, and then some people are in just a few houses. So that's just what this circle tells me without even delving into your chart. So I could sit down and know a good chunk about you without ever even meeting you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then this part of the chart, you read it just like it was a math times table. Yeah. So you take the moon and the sun, there's nothing big going on there. You take the moon with your Virgo, and then when there's a symbol there, you say, okay, well, what does that symbol mean? And then what I did was I wrote up a chart. So all of this, I took it and broke it up into an explanation.
Okay.
So when you go home, you can read this on your own in more depth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the first part talks about the balance of signs. Okay, there's these other little symbols that are down here. You get what you get. You chose this. But you can see that you're bottom heavy on your chart. So you're focused more on yourself in this lifetime than on others. And then, do you see how the 4 on the right and then 8 on the left? So I broke it down in here, what it means. So remember how we said that you were fire weak?
Yeah.
And so fire weak, you have difficulty in getting yourself motivated. You have a hard time achieving your own goals. You may experience just a lack of general enthusiasm for yourself because you're fire weak. And then it talks about air strong, philosophical, very intellectual, rational mind, feelings. You not only feel your feelings, but you feel other people's feelings. Like you are able to tune into it because you're so like air strong. Does that make sense? So I wrote good and weak in here. We don't need to go over all of it. And then I talked about the differences of the hemispheres of what that means also. Okay. Then I explained the houses, what each house means to you. Okay. Because remember, everybody's is different. I don't have Gemini rising. I'm a Virgo rising. So I approach things differently. People will see me as, like a beagle on a trail. So like finish the job until it gets done, and it's just that they keep working and working, and you have to like stop them to where so my husband would be Sagittarius. So he is everything, it tries to make everything bigger, brighter. I think of Sagittarius, remember, it's the gaseous planet, makes everything bigger. So I went through all of those to tell you about yourself, and I put that in here.
Okay.
I can, do you have any questions so far? I know it's a lot, and you haven't even like skimmed through to read.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm more of a, I need to look over it all and take it
Truly.
in before I even ask you questions.
I get it. So when we go through your chart, I put it on my tablet also. So when we go through your chart, the first thing we look at is, we look at the sun, the moon. We include the moon in, and so each planet, we consider it as has energy on us. So I started off with the moon. Your moon is in Pisces. The moon is our private side, what we don't share with others. It's what we would journal. It's our mothering instincts. It's our, yours is in Pisces. And so the energy of Pisces is the fish, the symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So think of, I want to go this way. I want to go this way. I can't decide. Do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? So your mothering instincts are like always pulled in two different directions. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
And then so that is in your 10th house. So if you look here, your moon with this symbol Pisces. So your moon, your nurturing feminine side in Pisces being pulled in different directions in your 10th house. So it's about being recognized for what you do for others to nurture them. Does that make sense? Because it's like in your house of career. Your mother probably played a huge role in you either learned by her example or you learned of what you didn't want to do. Does that make sense? Because of its placement. So that tells me, all right, mothers are huge, and it was either this was a great example and this is what I want to do, or I know exactly what I'm not going to be doing to raise my children. Does that make sense for its placement? I'm going to move on past your mom. We'll talk about. Remember that the fish is pulled in two different directions, and that you're always in your head. So this is you always. You have conflict with what are the needs of others and what are the needs of yourself. How do I meet the needs of others versus the needs of myself? And it's always, so think of that tug of war with the fish. So I always try to like give a visual of. So do you understand that so far?
Yeah.
Okay. You do have a trine, which it's you're able to put solid foundation for all those that are around you. I believe that there was something that happened when you were younger that you said they're going to have the solid foundation, and this is what I'm going to do to make this happen for them. Does that make sense? And it's to give them a solid footing for their future, and that was very important to you. You feel like good fortune finds its way to you. That would be a trine or one of your gifts. Good fortune is generally going to come to you through women, the contact of other women, your contact with doing things with them, your connection with them. All right. Any questions so far? I'm going to move on to the, okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the sun. Your sun. Remember, your sun is down here with all this stuff going on. Your sun is where you shine. So we look at this and we say, okay, that's my inner purpose. It's my drive. It's my energy. It's my strength. Your sun is in Libra. Think of Libra as the scales. I want to be balanced at all times. Libra are also the people, I call like Libras, they make people soup. I know it sounds funny, but they meet people and say, oh, you should know this person over here. Oh, you should meet this person over here, because they listen to people. They understand about things that the habits and clubs and organizations and things that people are into, and then you connect them with other people with the same interests. Does that make sense? And so I know the people soup it sounds kind of weird, but like
I make people soup.
You actually listen to them. You store it up in your head. Remember, you're all air, and then you're like, you remember it, and you're like, wasn't that person into gymnastics? We should hook them up with so-and-so. Or this is a connection with this over here. So you keep all the connections together. Does that make sense? It's in your 5th house. So this is about you connecting everything and making life around the house fun as much as possible. This is about love of children, being young at heart, enjoying parties, enjoying gatherings. They could be big parties, little parties, camping. It doesn't matter. You're there to have a good time, and you're going to make it a good time. Like, you're the person that says, I don't care if it's raining. We're all here together. Let's have a good time. Instead of focusing on, it's
you're
raining.
laughing over there.
You're gentle, you're loving, you're charming, hardworking. You can be a little bit impulsive, strong personality. You do not realize the effect that you have on others, and especially those that are close to you. And you probably won't realize it for like years to come, the impact that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your father was a pivotal role in your life. If he was a strong figure, your father played a role that he either had these rules, and you probably didn't like them at the time, and then he said, you have to do this because of this. And it wasn't until later that you understood what was dad, why did he care about the family name? Why did he care about this, or why did he care about that? And that was his impact that that he has on you in your growing up. Like, I'm trying to explain it in a polite way.
Just throw it out there.
Okay, your father was a strong figure in your life. I'm not quite sure about the relationship that you had. If it was, if there were things that he said or he did, and you did not like them, it wasn't until later when you were older that you found out about the way he was raised, or for his decisions and things that he said. But he was definitely an impact in your life. Does that make sense? Okay. And we'll go into more of it later. Yeah. Okay. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mercury is the planet that's closest to the sun. It's neither positive nor negative. And Mercury is the planet that everybody worries about when it goes into retrograde. I don't know if you follow astrology at all, but it goes retrograde about 3 times a year. So it kind of like, it looks like it goes backwards. So whenever it goes backwards, they say, oh, you got to redo, rethink, rewind. It's all the re's. Well, your Mercury, your way of communicating is in Scorpio. Do you know anything about Scorpio?
Mm-mm.
Some people are afraid of Scorpio. I love Scorpio. I embrace them. Scorpio are the psychic detectives. They want to get to the bottom of everything. There are no secrets that anybody could ever keep from you. You will dig and dig and dig, and you will never accept just because for an answer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, okay, I'm going to move on a little bit. So that is in your 6th house. So that's about your health, your relationship with your family. So if the kids wanted to get away with something, you'd be all up in their business, or anybody else. It bothers you not to know.
Mm-hmm.
To where there are some things for me, if somebody would say, you really don't, it doesn't matter, you wouldn't care anyway. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. Oh no. If they'd say that to you, you now want to know more, because now it's been made a big secret. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. So that's your communication, how you communicate, or your thoughts. Makes sense? Venus. Venus is the planet of love. Love of things, people, places, and things. It's optimistic. Yours is in Virgo. So that's about being practical. So with your relationship with your husband or other people, you don't look at a fairy tale romance. You know, they're not real. You're like, it's practical. You love things that are practical. So if I were to walk in your house, there would be everything around that would be used, like useful. We don't just have a couch just for everybody to look at. We don't have a white room. We have a couch that anybody can sit on and get comfortable. We have a house that, you stopped on over in the middle of dinner? Well, pull on up a plate. Let's just sit down, to where other people would not be prepared for it. Everything in your house you've made it practical, useful for you and everybody else. Does that make sense?
Does it make sense there, dear?
Sure.
You believe actions speak louder than words.
Oh God,
yeah. Okay. All right, Venus. So you understand how things that you love. So, and it's not going to change. Remember, with a natal chart, you pick this. I believe that you plan this before you're born, and you work on this your whole life. Like, even if you had a fine set of china, you'd probably get it out and use it, or you'd give it away, because why have something that we can't use? You could not change if you wanted to. Does that make sense? So don't get her any fine set of china. She's not gonna.
No, we have it. We've used it. I want to get rid of it. I'm like, it's taking up space in my house. I need it out of my house.
I don't have any either. It means nothing to me.
Well, okay,
I don't get it.
You know how you do the registry when you're kids? And
yeah, I didn't do it.
We did the gun thing. Boom, boom, boom,
yeah.
boom.
I didn't even do the gun thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get that far.
She let me go do one at Sears. So I was like, ooh.
Tools.
But the tools are usable.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my china, and we've used it, but I'm like,
so we register for it, and then we got every piece.
We don't need it.
You don't need it. Yeah, if you don't need it, you get rid of it.
Yeah.
You're a tosser. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. So Mars in your chart. Mars is back here in that 5th house again. So Mars is the planet of assertion and drive. Your desires. Yours is in Libra. Balance.
Mm-hmm.
Balance. Everything. You want justice. Arguments. You can't stand them. You'll be the mediator, and you want to shut it down. You just cannot. You don't kickstart it.
Quit looking at me. Focus on you. This is about you.
Relationships are important with other people, but you won't tolerate the disagreements or the misunderstandings. You want to put. So this is in your 5th house. So where you manifest this energy is with family and with close people that are close to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It talks about having kids. Sometimes it means that women can sometimes have problems having kids also. So it's in a woman's chart. But I know you have 4 kids, so we're good.
Yeah, wasn't that hard.
Wasn't that?
Well, Addie did take a year, but hey.
I'm not commenting.
I'm not commenting. All right. All right. I'm composing myself and coming back from that. Let's see. You're ambitious. Your volunteer life is as much as a full-time job as like a job to you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's where your Mars energy is. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. So Mars, Jupiter. I love Jupiter. Jupiter, again, what I said is it's an expansive planet. I always equate it to like a balloon, like blowing up a balloon. It gets bigger, better, brighter. So whatever it touches. Yours is in Pisces. So remember what Pisces is. The fish.
Okay. Yeah.
Tide. Oh, want to do this. Oh, want to do this. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's make this bigger. Oh, I'm going to help over here. So this also says that you're pretty intuitive. You may not be aware, or you may not want to acknowledge. You might call them mother instincts, mm-hmm. or gut feelings, or instead of I have a gift of I know you're lying to me, so start telling the truth right now. Like being able to look at somebody. Does that make sense? And because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, they're usually the most evolved in the psychic realm. So that is in your Jupiter expansive planet, and it's in your 10th house. So that would be career and your professional life. So you could probably start listening to somebody and know immediately if they're lying to you by a gut feeling, not by something that they've said. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk about your Saturn. Your Saturn is the planet. Remember I said it's the boundaries, structure, framework. It has rings around it, and I always think about that's the fence around the yard, and you gotta follow the rules. And yours is in Cancer. It's not its favorite sign to be there because Cancer is loving and caring, family members. Yours is in your 2nd house, so this is about you experiencing feelings of emotional or financial poverty. You feel it even if you don't have it. Does that make sense? Like, we have to save X, Y, and Z. When you have the money, you could buy that, but you would rather wait for it to come on sale or save up and say, I don't need it. Let's just get something for the kids. It's a fear of, and does that make sense? Okay. We'll move on past that one. I'm going to move on past that. We'll talk privately. Okay, let's move on to
there's a lot of private
Uranus.
talk going on.
Well, no, there's no reason to be talking about self-esteem and relationships that are with everybody and God. With everybody. Yeah. Uranus. Now that's a generational planet. Anybody born between 68 and 75. So in your chart, it's in Libra.
Okay.
Again, balance.
Yeah.
So it's anybody born in that time period, and they're all looking for the same thing in their 5th house. So anybody with that in their 5th house, they're raising their kids in unconventional ways. They're living, they're eccentric. They have to be creative with the family dynamics. Does that make sense? And it's just those years. Anybody that's 68, 75 makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to Neptune. Neptune is the planet that I think of as it's foggy, and you cannot use your head to get through. You have to use your heart to feel the energy to move through. It's like walking in a fog.
Okay.
You have to rely on what you hear or what you can feel because you can't see. And so yours is in Sag, a gaseous planet, all expansive. Anybody born between 70 and 84 is having the same effect that you are, and that's in your 7th house. You search for perfection in intimate relationships. You might have been disillusioned with imperfect partners. And
I love you.
No, that was before. She's talking about before.
Yeah, it does mean before. Remember, this is your whole life. So this is when you were dating, younger. Does that make sense? Okay.
I still love you.
Okay. You're on a spiritual quest. You sometimes have a tendency to daydream. You sometimes live in a fantasy world. Remember, because that's that foggy planet. And you need to be cautious about addictions of food or alcohol or other things that you might take in too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if it runs in the family. It doesn't matter. We'll move on. Just so you know that. So whenever I get anything that I look at it as what somebody might say is negative, I look at it as a heads up that I planned it for this lifetime. I am either going to, I planned it to learn from. So when stuff goes down with me or things are difficult, I have to say, what am I learning? Or what am I teaching? What is somebody learning at my expense? or what am I learning at their expense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that there were certain things that I chose to happen to me, but it's harder to have it happen to somebody else because now you have to learn from a different perspective. For my kids, I would have rather taken on everything that they've ever had to go through, every challenge, but I couldn't, and they wouldn't have learned. And so it's harder for me to learn life lessons by watching them learn theirs. Does that make sense? And so that's, yeah.
Sherry Gomes says hi.
Hi, how are you? All right. Sometimes, okay, you want to escape reality. Sometimes you don't like bad news in the world, and you would rather just say, I'm just going to listen to the positive. You know that it's out there. It just doesn't need to be part of your daily life. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about your Pluto. Pluto is, remember I said that one's that going into that transit that's coming up. It's the planet of transformation. It's ruled by Scorpio. And so think of a snake as either growing and shedding its skin or birth, death, rebirth. It comes in on our chart, and it comes in and clears out if something is not working or if something is not growing or has become stagnant. It just clears it out whether you like it or not. And in the end, it's good for you. You just didn't, it causes change. And in our chart, I know that I struggle with change. I don't want to change. I've been doing the same thing forever. It seems to be working. Well, no growth comes unless you change. So Pluto comes in and says, it's time. Boom, we're going to knock this out. And you're going to now be forced to think of things to do. Think of this as different. So it's in Libra. Remember, you're all about balance in your life. And it's anybody born between 72 and 84. So they're experiencing the same thing. Your whole generation is going to transform relations, the justice system. It's in your 5th house. It's about being creative. It's also, there's a caution of be aware of obsessive needs, possibly for attention. That would be like a negative, overly dominant with the kids. Does that make sense? So that would be something that you would have to be cautious that you don't want to dominate. Dominate is a bad, strong word. They need to be free to make their own mistakes, and they need to be free to be who they are. And you have life experience that they don't have yet, and they're not going to learn by your example, and they're sure as heck not going to learn by telling them. They have to experience it, and it kind of drives you crazy. That's it. Okay. I want to talk about Chiron since in everybody's chart, Chiron is the one that's in your 11th house that we talked about. Everybody it's an asteroid. They call it the wounded healer. If you believe that you chose this time and place, you also chose to learn these life lessons. You chose a wound that you're going to be working on your entire life. These squares that are on here are life lessons that you can overcome, but the wound will be something that will be with you repeatedly, and every time that you think that you're getting past something, it'll come at you a different way or a different angle. And so yours is an Aries, so it's about being, your sense of being was violated in some way, and you have a fear of asserting yourself. Putting yourself out there makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Remember that your moon says that I want to be quiet and be on the back. And your Chiron forces you, no matter how much you want to be reserved and pulled back, Chiron's going to test you your whole life. You're not going to be on the back burner, whether you like it or not. Does that make sense? So every time you say, I really don't want to do this, well, that's your Chiron. That's your life. That's going to be your whole life lesson. Somebody's going to thrust you out there. It'll be the kids. It'll be the husband. It'll be a job. It'll be volunteering. Somebody, somewhere, your entire life, you will try to be the wallflower, and life will thrust you back up in different ways. Does that make sense? It's in your 11th house, so your pain, yeah. Okay. Of friends and that. So do you have any questions so far?
Mm-mm.
No? You sure?
Mm.
Okay. Okay. I don't know how much you believe, so I'm gonna I believe that if you choose this, you have been past lives, and not everybody believes that, which is okay. So if you believe that you've been in other lives, you come with energy from those lives. Like you've been men, you've been women, and you've learned all these life lessons. And our North Node always points to the career of what we're going towards. The South Node always points to what we came from. Remember, it's the one that's down below. So think our past, if you believe. Yours is in Gemini. It's a quest to learn life from other people's point of view. And so that makes you adept at communication. So sometimes you are restless and sometimes you feel scattered. Understand life from other people's points of view. Like you can actually see it from this person, and then when this person explains it, you can also understand it from their point of view. And so you're coming from a past where you need to learn how to see it from other people's points of view, and that's what you're working on in this lifetime. Also, does that make sense? Okay. You're able to communicate with just about anybody. Like from somebody who does not have a job to somebody who works at a Fortune 500 company. You will find something in common with them. Remember the people soup? You will find something in common that you will be able to discuss with them, and you'll also be able to see what they're doing from their point of view, from them talking to you, because you're a really good listener.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't know. How much do you want to go on? Because like I said, we could talk astrology all day long. We could talk about where this is all the planets. We could talk about where Kate's going to be going for, like I said, this transit that's going to be hitting you. It's going to hit you in your Saturn. Your Saturn is trine with your moon right now. So this full moon that we just experienced, it's not done. Emotional patience, you have steady emotions from it. I think you had a lot of responsibilities when you were younger, and you have loyalty to family, and this also gave you strong intuition. So this affects your transits for where we're going. You're going to have Pluto in your 8th house, so your joint income, your joint things. This is also about when people pass away and leave you money, or getting money, winning the lottery. I don't know if you play the lottery. Probably not, because you have Saturn. That would be spending money that you. I get it. I don't even know what. Yeah, but it's combined incomes with other people, and it's shared resources, and it's intimate relationships. So those things are going to go through an overhaul. Does that make sense? So do we have any questions about any of that so far?
Well, we should be wrapping up here pretty soon, but you've been really quiet.
She has
I've been listening.
So, which is part of your thing, right?
Yeah.
Little Miss Air. I'm going to call you that.
Call her
Airhead.
out on it. Oh, no, you can't call her an air.
I call you
Nice.
Airhead. For
I have a lot of names for you too, dear, so
right,
we're
so
good.
That was a lot. She's dumped it all.
Yeah,
on
and
your
she
lap.
hasn't even read yet. I mean, like, this is a book on private things about you. Yeah.
And I'm sure as soon as the camera flips off, then you're gonna go. So what were the other things you stopped and went? Nah, we'll talk about that later. But what's your take on all this right now?
I think a lot of it was kind of spot on. I think you would agree with that.
I would, but I didn't want to have that interaction with me being a part of it. I'm not a part of the show. This is your life.
No, I think a lot of things were pretty spot on.
And I want to emphasize to the viewers. Somebody said, "Oh no, this is all underworld stuff." Oh no. Actually, it's not. So this is the opposite of the underworld stuff. This is the star stuff. Okay.
This is, yeah.
And if you want to talk about the underworld stuff, that's the show that we did with Joy when we went out on Halloween night. Okay, that's the underworld stuff. All right, so don't get that confused, and I want that to make that very clear for our viewers.
People have been studying the planets
for years.
For years, this goes way back. None of this. I didn't make up any of this.
Right, and everybody knows we're a Christian family, and you know we believe in God, but at the same time we do acknowledge that, especially having worked with Joy, the energy that is just around is just amazing, and it just can't be denied. And people always are in this mentality where they have to pick sides, and that's just not how we roll in our household. We just don't. So we do acknowledge all of these other things, and just to hear you the way that you described it, and then to say, and then to hear about the whole moon and all that stuff, and just have me go through the experiences I did in the last 48. It just made a ton of sense. All right. Now, as far as you, there were a lot of things that were said that were so dead on accurate, and you kept looking at me for the reaction. Don't look at me for the reaction. I want to hear what is your take on them.
What I said. I mean, I don't talk a lot.
That's
you
the
know
whole point.
That's
I
your
don't
Chiron,
talk
remember,
a
you're
lot.
going to be thrown out there. So, is there anything that I was off, or that you would like me to revisit? Or go into more. So when I do readings, it has to be a two-way street, because I will keep talking until I know that you got the message, until you understand what I mean, because I don't ever want you to leave thinking one thing when I really meant something else. Does that make sense? So,
yeah, it does.
Because I want this to be a teachable. It's math. This is math. It's, where everything lines up and what is the energy of each. And so, was there anything that you were confused about? Was there anything that...
I just think there's a lot that I need to read more into. I need to better understand it. I don't think there was anything that was off or that didn't seem didn't seem like me, or didn't seem like my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get it. I totally... I would like to just show you quickly. I want to show you... I'm going to do... So this is... So the inside wheel is your chart. So if you look at it, you're saying, okay, all those planets line up. Mm-hmm. These outside wheel are where all the planets are right now. So do you see that your focus is all down here? Mm-hmm. And right now, it's all up here. So you're trying to keep everything inside the house, and your focus is all going to be on the outside world. Remember, all the houses 1 through 6 are all about me, my money, my house, my home. And then this is my career, my family, my outside world. So this is what is going to majorly, you can't deny. Well, we'll come back in a few months and see what's going on with your chart. And you can say, okay, this is what's going on, or this has happened with my money, or this is spot on with family, or this was, I would love to touch base later after you've had a chance to process, or we don't have to, but it would be nice to.
You said this is more me being
family.
So
all of those, that's all your energy.
My focus was home.
Yeah.
Before, but now I'm out working how many jobs? So I'm not home.
No.
So I'm not with my kids, and I'm not.
Is to take care of the house.
It is, but I think it's also I feel pulled. I need to be over here working to make the money to support the kids and to support the family and to contribute. I don't want to say support because we're doing it together, but then there's me, like, he's not Mr. Mom, and when the kids need stuff,
they call the mom.
Well, no, he has to do it, and then he looks at me and goes, I can't believe and everything, and I get frustrated because I'm like, I would love to be the one doing that, but I can't right now because I need to be over here.
I just can't do a braid. I need braid training.
Braid training?
Yep. That's really the big thing. I can't braid hair and that kind of stuff.
Or get your daughter's clothes out of her drawer.
I can do that. I can. Wait, this isn't about the show here, okay?
So no, it's the little things. Like when you say stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, I want to be home with my kids, but I know that right now, at this point in time, I have to be over here and not over here.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. How old are your kids?
8. Oh, no, she's not 18 yet. 17. She'll be 18 next month. Mm-hmm. 13, 11, and 4.
Yeah. So they,
And to be truthful, just so the audience knows, she's taking on more work, so I can focus more on this. And I got rid of a side job to be able to focus on 3 Throw to Go and to build that platform. And until we get the proper funding that we need, then she's working that extra job to make sure that we can grow this company and this venture. So, and that's the shift that you were talking about. As soon as you brought that up, I'm like,
that is the shift.
We're all doing this. We're doing it right now. Like literally, the shift takes place next week.
Starts Monday.
She starts working.
Well, Sunday is the actual planets are going to be meeting up. Now it's about thinking outside the box, being creative. What are you going to do? Like if it's old and if it's not working, just get it gone. Don't even think about it. And which will be easy for you because you don't keep things around that are not worth anything anyway. Like you're not a keeper. Get rid of those plates.
I was. So, I think part of it is I have some emotional connection, or it's the one day thinking that I'm getting away from now. One day when we do this, I'll want to have that. And I keep thinking, I don't need it in my life right now.
Yeah.
So
downsizing, paring down. What do you really need?
Yeah. At Christmas, please don't get my kids toys. We don't have room for it in the house. Give them stuff that they need, like underwear and socks, which kids love to unwrap. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting us over.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. You've been very enlightening. And again, we'll put your contact information. We already did, but we'll do it again. So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? What are the best ways?
They can text. Text is the best. Or email. Willow Grace Mystik. It's with a K. 143, which stands for I love you. I told you numbers mean everything, so I know. And then Facebook, and we can talk astrology, we can talk tarot, we can talk maybe come out to one of the tarot and taps, or I'm hosting a psychic fair coming up on 4/4/2020. I know.
That's funny.
I know. Because it's a solid number. 4s are solid numbers. So I added it all up and I said this is a Saturday, 4 and 4 and 20 and 20 and all the numbers. So think of a chair with 4 solid legs. So it's a solid number. And then I looked at the moon and said, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
I know.
Also, most of your hours then are evening and weekends.
Evenings
correct?
And weekends. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because, we all have day jobs too.
Yeah.
So you'll appreciate this. When I chose the voices in the 3 Throw competition, I specifically set it up on the palindrome of the decade, which is 022220. So it's February 22nd, 2000.
I'm going to have to run a chart on those dates.
Yeah. 2/22/20 is our voices in the 3 Throw competition that we're running at the Rialto Theater. People are actively
because numbers mean everything. They have a different vibration to them. So you have to say, okay. I mean, so tarot is astrology. Every tarot card has an astrology or has a planet, and so the moon is Cancer. So when somebody gets the moon card, you think about what is the sign of Cancer. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when people say, "Oh, this is like food," no, it's numbers. And what do the numbers mean? Like 1 always means 1, 2 means 2 people, 3 means we did one. We created another. 4 is solid, 5 is disruption. So it's nothing I'm not reinventing anything. I'm fortunate to be riding this wave with you. Yeah.
All right. So thank you once again for having us. Folks, I don't have anything planned for the next couple of weeks, which is good because our intern, Dion, officially starts on Monday.
Yay.
And so it fits with what you were telling us. So Deanna will be starting with us on Monday, and at that point we're going to go into full planning mode, and we're going to plan out the next 6 months in terms of programming. The next live event that I'll be working in the network as far as scheduled will be with SIP of Solidarity, and then I can't remember the topic that they're going to be doing on the show, but then the next live event that I'll be producing will be Rubber City Reviews, take number 6. And that is going to be at the Rialto Theater on January 25th. And that is going to be the end of year movies that came out, like Star Wars and a couple others, gems, uncut gems. And then they're going to be doing a full preview of the upcoming Oscars at RCR Take 6. Until then, I don't know where I'm going, but there ain't no sense in being late. Ladies, join me and say goodnight, Shirley.
Good night.
Good night, Shirley.